And then once this is created, my next line of code will be, of course, to write something within this file. So I'm going to say file.write, and this is the method that I'm using. And we'll get to methods once we move along into subsequent lessons that explain what those are and the concept behind those. But for right now, it's just a built-in method that we use to tell Python to write something. Okay, so here's the parentheses, and of course my string. I'm going to say my name is John. I enjoy something like that. Okay. All right, great. So once I'm done, I'm going to close the parentheses here. And I'm not going to use file close for now. I'm in fact going to run this just so that I want to show you first what happens or what Python does once you just tell Python to open a file. If not, create the file and then write something within the file. Okay. So of course I'm going to go to run. Click on run, and then let's click on run module. Of course it wants me to save. The source must be saved. Click OK to save. And let me navigate to my documents folder here, and then our data files, I have my Python folder. So here are all the Python files already listed within this folder. And notice at this point, if I make this a little bigger so you can see all the rest of the files, there's no such file that's called new sample file.txt within this folder. The only files that I see have the extension .py, so these are Python files. So there's no text file within this particular folder. Now you might also be wondering, how do I know the path? Like for example, this path up here. How do I know what to type? Where is the path? How do I find the path? Well, a couple of ways you can do it, and I'm going to demonstrate that next. But let me first save this file, and I'm going to call it mysample.py. And notice we're not actually saving this file. In fact, Python is going to create this file for us called new sample file.txt. We're actually saving the program or the module called mysample. And click save. And what Python does, it restarts the shell and then creates the file within the mysample.py. Now when I go to mysample.py and open it, I should be able to see something like my name is John, I enjoy fishing, and this text will be part of the new sample file.txt. So let me next open up my Windows Explorer, navigate to my Python folder, and let's see whether we have the new sample file.txt created or not. So I'm going to open up my Windows Explorer here, and within this, here we go. So we have our new sample file.txt created. If I were to open this file, notice this file is currently empty, even though within my code I have some text that I wanted this file to display. So Python first went to this directory, saw that there's no such file name called new sample file.txt, so it created this file but did not really add any text to it. And that's why we need to close the file, because we need to make sure it takes it out of the buffer, right? So let me navigate back to our, let me close this for now. So here I'm going to write another line called file dot close. Okay. Now if I rerun the module, click on run module, of course it wants me to save. Every single time when I make some changes to the module, click OK, restarts the shell, runs the code, and let's navigate back to our Windows Explorer. And this time when I open the new sample file.txt, notice here's my text. It says my name is John, I enjoy fishing. So this is how you would simply create the file, tell Python to either read a file. If it exists already, just use the R option within your code. If not, use the W and it will create the file and write the text to it. Let's close this. back to our code here. So this gives you an idea of how to use the file open, how to read a file, how to open a file, and how to write and add text to it. Now what happens when I in fact add more text? Of course, if I add text here and rerun the module, it's going to add some more text. Let me in fact demonstrate this. So my name is John, enjoy fishing. I live in Chicago. And let's run the module again. Click OK to save it. Make sure the shell displays that it ran the mysample.py file and the newsample.txt correctly. And let's navigate to our Windows Explorer. Let's click on new sample file text. And of course, it adds to this file. Here's what you need to be careful of. What, for example, you were to change or add text within this new sample file.txt. So if I write something like, I enjoy watching football, and I simply save this file. This is a text file now. I can use my keyboard Control S to save, or I can click File, Save, and close it. If I go back to my code here in Python, Python doesn't really know whether I made any changes to the file or not. Only I know that I added some text to it. If I were to run this module again without anything, Python is going to ignore the additional text that I added to my text file. In fact, it's going to rerun the same code and only display this text up till here. I live in Chicago. Let's demonstrate this. So run, click on Run Module. It successfully ran this. Let's get to our Windows Explorer, open up new sample file.txt, and notice at this point, I enjoy watching football is gone. I live in Chicago, and that's what I meant by when I mentioned earlier that you need to be careful using the W option in your code. Every time you use W, it's going to write the text based on your code. So let's close this, get back to our code here. Alright, so what is the way out here? What do you do? So instead of a W, if you need to add some text to the file, you would use the letter A for append. And if you use that option, then Python is going to append text to your existing text. So it's not going to write over it, it's going to add to your text. So just to give you a word of caution, I want to demonstrate this so that you understand the concept of reading and writing files and how Python uses the file open, file write, and file close options or methods. But before I even end this lesson, let me in fact demonstrate the append option for you as well. So for example, I'm going to use the same path here, same file. Instead of a write, I'm going to use A for append. And what this would do is add text to my existing file. So for instance, the current text within this new sample file.txt is my name is John, I enjoy fishing, I live in Chicago, and hello there. Okay. So if I were to append, use the A option here, within this, it's going to append the text. But before I even use the append, let me first, from scratch, rerun the write file, and then I'll use the append. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my W here and run the module. It's going to save and then show you first going to Windows Explorer, open up my new sample file.txt, and here's the current text. So at present it says my name is John, I enjoy fishing, I live in Chicago, hello there. So this is the text within this file. Let's say I'm going to make some changes to this text. I'm going to say I'm going to visit New York tomorrow. Okay, So I added some text to the new sample file.txt file. At this point, of course, Python doesn't know that I've added this. So I'm going to save this file, save, and close the text file. Let me get back to my code here. Now once again, if I were to run the module again, it's going to delete my addition that I added to the text file, of course, because I'm using the write option. But in this case, if I use the append option instead of W, I'm going to say letter A for append. The text remains the same. In fact, I'm going to remove all of this text. I'm going to append and create some new text. In New York, I'm going to see the Statue of Liberty. Okay, now to recall, I'm using the letter A, which is append option. So in this case, when Python is going to write this particular text within this string, it's going to append to my existing text within the document. So let's run this. Let's click on run module. Of course, source must be saved. Click OK. And it successfully ran. Let's go to our Windows Explorer. And here's a new sample file text. Let me open this. And let's see what Python did. Great. So it said, I'm going to visit New York tomorrow, which is fine. In New York, I'm going to see the Statue of Liberty. So this text has now been appended to my existing file. So it did not really delete or erase all the text because I did not use the W or the write option. So be careful using the W. Use append instead if you need to add to this file. Whether you add directly to the new sample file.txt or you use the Python code, either way, you have the option to either append or write the text. So pretty powerful. Play with it, practice, and let's move to our next lesson.